All right, welcome to week 31 of the Designorama, the daily design challenges. This week is another one that focuses on UI pretty heavily. We're in advanced motion design. And for this week, as usual, what I would do is you can think of these as individual design challenges. So pick an individual app and or experience and focus on the daily design challenge from that perspective. Or you could look through all 5 of these and think about a single app that you'd want to apply all of these to. And it may even be a little narrower than an app. It could just be a few views within an app. But you can certainly spread this out however you'd like. And, in theory, you could take a single app and go in 5 different design directions with these 5 different challenges. But it's relatively straightforward. So day 1 is a loading animation, so prototype loading animation for a mobile app. And it can be loading really anywhere. But choose whatever app type you like. If you're doing it for the week, again, just pick one and go throughout the week, or just pick one for today. Show progression or brand personality while the app loads. So you're trying to show that something is happening. Also communicate that it's not stuck in a loop. And then, communicate a little bit about what the app does or a little bit about your brand while you are showing that loading prototype. And the output for this is just a looping animation. You can do this in a number of different platforms pretty easily. And this is great for thinking about polish, micro interaction, again, adding brand personality to your application and thinking about UI states. Day 2 is create a hover effect for a card layout. So card layouts are everywhere because we work a lot with items within a bucket. So products within search results, products within a category, articles within a periodical, newspaper, blog, or blog section, things of that nature. Focus on feedback from user interaction and think about how this applies to mobile as well. So there could be lift in the card, increase or decrease shift in shadow, zoom, revealing of information. Balance clarity and delight. So every time you do something like this, especially with a card lift where you're working on an individual product or something of that nature, you could go in a very strong direction and do very dramatic animation. Or you could do something that maybe is too subtle, and there's constantly a push and pull between that. And so the thing is to think about sort of the extreme of what you want to do, the subtlety of what you want to do, and sort of find that sweet spot in between. And this is relatively straightforward. Your output would be a card, or even better, if you create the whole grid, it could just be the same item over and over again, but show those different hover states and allow people to interact with them. Day 3, screen transitions. So add smooth transitions between screens in a prototype. Think about hierarchy, continuity, and reducing cognitive load. This could be for a sign-up flow, a shopping cart, or a profile setup. And the output of this would be a multi-screen prototype with animated transitions. And again, you're just focused on what's the meaningful connection between the two things between which you are transitioning. And it could be 3 things. So it could be going from a main screen to a category list to a single item. And does that hierarchy shift as you go from A to B and then B to C? But just think about that. And, as with all these challenges in week 31 with advanced motion, think a whole lot about polish. Not only in usability, but just across the board. Day 4, intro animation. So design an engaging intro animation for an app. This is different from your loading screen. This would be, I think, what we used to call a splash screen, that when you open an app or you open an experience, sort of introduces itself. So it could be a logo reveal, it could be an onboarding walkthrough, it could be a first time experience. Try to keep it under 3 seconds for usability. If you have a really long and winded one, it can be sort of prohibitive of wanting to use the app. But the output is just an animated app intro sequence. And again, you can do this in most prototyping tools, pretty straightforward. Day 5 is a looping widget animation. So create a looping animation for a weather widget. This could be clouds drifting, the sun rising, setting, raindrops falling. You want to make it so that it's delightful but not distracting, and make it so it does have an endless loop, and that could mean that it has a continuity to it so that you don't see that it is looping. It just looks like it's continuous motion, or it could be have a starting and end point. So this would be an animated weather widget mockup. And I think, if you were to look at the weather app on your mobile device, it may have some of this already in it. You can check that out. So this would be for subtle motion design, atmosphere, real world data visualization. And so those are the challenges for week 31. They're pretty straightforward. I think they're more challenging in execution. So trying to make these things very polished and not distracting. So I think that's where the complexity lies this week. And so I wish you the best of luck. This will be if you're not into motion graphics, this will be a big stretch for you, and you'll build some muscles during it. But it's totally a worthwhile thing to do, if not just to empathize with the people in your lives that have to do this work or want to do this work.